Hey y'all, it's Kadisha and I'm back with another video. Today, I want to talk about emotional intelligence and how we can basically scale our um, level of intelligence to see if we are or if we're not. And I'm going to make this about me, so I'm not making you feel bad. Now let's, give this little excuse the elephant in the room. Yeah. But yeah, so I was recently talking with some people, and I just realized when you come to a certain level of emotional intelligence, not to say that you're all the way there or you're not that at all, but it's a way to gauge it. And I realized like when you get to a certain point of emotional intelligence, you don't argue with truth. You don't argue with, fact. You just, if someone wants to argue, you're not going to do that. You're going to say, okay, you respect someone's opinion and you move forward. And does that mean if you argue with someone, you don't? Because sometimes we may have to, not necessarily argue, but to state a point. And so you may have to reiterate or to talk a little bit more about it. However, you're not going to go back and forth with someone if they're wanting to constantly argue about something that in your mind is fact. And so you're not going to go try to prove your point and argue this person down because you have a level of emotional intelligence that is higher than what they have, and they don't see that it's not really going to benefit anybody by trying to argue your case and someone is still not trying to get it. So that's one way to gauge it. And another is, I guess it's kind of all the same and basically not arguing, because I was recently talking to an individual and they were telling me about something that I knew was not the correct information. And I just looked at him and I smiled and I said, okay. And I didn't go back and forth and say, no, that's not right. I just let them, and I wouldn't say let them think that was right, because sometimes people want to feel a certain way. And I'm not here to rain on anybody's parade to make you feel bad or to make you feel less than. And so we have to realize that. And I think I have a video on that talking about, would you rather be, oh no, I can't remember the name of the video, but it was something based on the lines of being being right and wrong. It was something on that. And it made me realize, like, but the bad thing that I did after that, I talked about it and I was like, that person was telling a story. And that's another thing that we have to think about when we're having emotional intelligence, is to not go to other people talking about what they did. And I'm not saying you can't have a mentor, but most of the time when we go to someone talking about what they did, it's gossip. It's not to try to get clarification or to try to get feedback. It's to talk about that other person. And the only thing that is doing is tearing down that person. And I actually did that. And the Lord allowed me to realize, like, what you're doing is not uplifting. It's not a representation of me, not in a way that made me feel bad, but in a way that made me realize moving forward, that's not something that I should do. If we have a problem with something or someone, we have to learn to go to God. That's another, and I feel like that's a level of emotional intelligence. It's not sitting here and trying to prove a point or to trying to rest your case. Of course, unless you're a lawyer, then that's what you do. You don't do that when it comes to people. You go to the Lord and ask the Lord or tell him about that person. And I've realized when I do that, it makes it all the more better. And things will start to shift in a way that I couldn't have possibly done it, even just talking to another person about it. So this is about emotional intelligence, but it's also about just developing your relationship with the Lord and allowing you to realize that most of the time talking to people is not going to get you where you think you need to go. It's about going to your Creator and realizing that He is the only one who can give you sound feedback and allow you to develop this emotional intelligence that I'm talking about. And I think I'm going to kind of shift into another video about people not being perfect, and we have to realize that. And I guess that can kind of go on to this topic as well, because I was reading a certain individual's book, and I was taking everything that they said as gold. And not to say that they were wrong about what they were saying, because they had degrees, and so they have studied certain things, and so they do know things that I do not know that I can take on to my life. But then they made a video about something that I just totally disagreed with, and I did not think it was right. And the Lord allowed me to realize that each individual, even though they may have a lot of information, and they may be able to help you in whatever you're going through, don't forget that these people are not perfect. So they're going to do things that go against what you may actually believe. And does that mean that that person is a bad person? It does not mean that. It just means that some things we have to take with a grain of salt, and we have to realize that everything is not for us, especially when it's coming from a human being, because they are imperfect people, and we don't know how they live their lives on a day-to-day basis. We don't know who they pray to, or whatever the case. And not saying that you can't get information from different people, but it's just to realize that don't put your hope in people, but put your hope in the God that never changes. And that's going to really take your emotional intelligence to another level. Is that going to make you a perfect person yourself? Of course not. But it'll make you stop arguing about things that are not necessarily worth arguing about to someone who is not going to listen anyway. It'll give you the discernment you need to move forward in different situations that you have or you're facing. And it'll just allow you to be able to respect a person for what they can bring to the table, and not relying or putting your trust in them. It'll make you be able to discern what you need to take from them and what you need to allow to be by the wayside. So I hope this video helps you. It's kind of all over the place, but I think emotional intelligence ties into all of those things. Thank you so much for watching. And like I always say, a cambio que quieres ver en otros. Until next time, bye.